You're listening to Popcorn and Politics. What's the real deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Asking the hard-hitting questions you want answers to. From political leaders and political hopefuls from around the world.
Always happens. I always forget to cut the video off, right? Welcome everybody to another edition of Popcorn and Politics. I'm your host, Audrey Bell Kearney, along with my co-host, Derek J. Wilson, and our guest today, Miss Nikita Hemingway. Welcome, everybody.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So listen, we're streaming live right now. We're streaming live on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Roku, and American One Radio. So we're all over the place. American One Radio. Thank you to American One Radio for streaming us live. Happy to be here with you guys. Happy to partner with you to bring you some great community leaders and talk about the things that are important to us in this week. So we got Nikita here, who is actually running for office. But I got to tell y'all, the big talk this week is all about redistricting and, oh my God, drawing lines and erasing lines and just doing some crazy stuff. So thank you, Nikita, for joining us, first of all.
Thank you for having me. Excited to be here.
Thank you. So, listen, let me just start out saying this. We were together yesterday, Derek and I. We was at a function for Brian Whiteside, who is running for re-election for Solicitor General here in Gwinnett County. And Representative Donna McLeod was there, and she was very emotional. And as I was walking out the door, she grabbed my hand like this, and she said, "They're just driving us crazy." She's like, "They are just doing crazy stuff." And I said to myself, wow, so I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "Right now, I guess the Republicans they're just doing all kind of crazy things right now." And she said they were on one side of the street and they had to run to the other side of the street just to vote on some bill that they were trying to pass. And had they not gotten there in time, the bill would have passed without their vote. And she was so emotional, Nikita. I mean, it was like, what's the matter? And she had just came from a funeral from a 16-year-old who had got killed. So that could have been part of it too. But she just grabbed my hand. She's like, they're just driving us crazy, you know? And I was like, wow, that seems like a lot of pressure. So I started off telling that story to say, why you want to get in this game?
Oh, Lord. So I ask myself that every single day. Because running for office, there's tremendous sacrifice. And that is something that we don't talk about. Oftentimes people look at politicians and they think, oh, you're doing this because this is your career objective. But many of us are just regular everyday people like the voters in this district. I'm a farmer. I'm a realtor. I'm a mom. I have 4 kids from 24 down to 4. And, you know, family and growing our business and just living my life is very important to me. However, being a Georgia native and looking at, you know, what we're facing in this state, just historically and in the present time, you know, gone are the days where we're silent and we put changes in our world on autopilot, hoping others fix it. We all have got to be an active participant, you know, in changing the narrative of our outcomes. Every person has the right and the duty to be the superhero in their life. And we do that by volunteering. We do that by voting. We do that by running for office. We do that by supporting each other, solving problems. You use whatever talents God has given you to be a part of the win. So for me, running in the state of Georgia, I have a great mind around farming and real estate, and also a good understanding of the laws and what it's going to take for businesses, farms to be successful, but also food security. You know, so these are the things that I'm passionate about. This is what I'm drawn to, and this is what I am committing, you know, to helping solve and bringing Georgia forward.
You know, a lot of people don't even know that we have food insecurities. I've been up since probably 6 o'clock this morning. I had to go do like some community service for my sorority. And one of the things we did was make a donation for people to make sure they had like meals for Thanksgiving, because there are truly food insecurities here in the state of Georgia. So the fact that, so for people who don't know, let them know what seat you're running for here in the state of Georgia.
Yeah, so I'm running for Commissioner of Agriculture for the state of Georgia, and that impacts so many aspects of our daily lives. It's really important for the voters and the people of Georgia to understand what this department does and how it can bring a better future for the citizens. Agriculture is the number one industry in the state of Georgia. It contributes 70 billion to our economy, creates more than 350,000 jobs. The Department of Agriculture mandate controls grocery stores, fuels and measures, your pets, animals, consumer affairs, all of produce that's you know is cultivated in Georgia, but also manufactured foods that are here. So it's a really, it casts a wide net as to what it does, and most importantly, anything that you can look at that keeps your life running, its origin starts in agriculture, especially here in Georgia.
I have a question. So I'm looking at your website, which is nikitahemingway.com. Uh, how many what's the percentage of women that are in farming here in Georgia, and would you happen to know how many of them hold leadership in throughout the state?
Yeah, so women make up a great majority of the farmers. I'd say close to 30% of the farmers in the state of Georgia are women, and less than 1.5% of them hold leadership positions. Now, don't hold me to that first number because I don't have all my data in front of me. But
Thirty-four
it says a
percent.
lot
Yeah.
about how we think about it's 34%. Yes. So
Yeah.
a lot about how we think about opportunities in the state of Georgia and who is actively involved. Women have been in agriculture since the beginning of time. My heritage starts in this state, and we've been able to trace my ancestry back to the first slave, which was Sack, who was a woman who came from Africa and who was a farmer. She was a rice farmer. So
Mm.
having women involved and having a seat at the table is very important, but also having representation from all aspects of agriculture is important.
Yeah.
So
That's wow.
Nikita, there's a lot going on right now about redistricting and also redrawing lines. How does that affect your campaign? Or does it affect it at all? I think
So
she's
it
frozen.
doesn't
Okay.
affect my campaign, but what it does affect is the. Oh, can you hear me?
You're
Yes.
breaking
Yes,
up
we
a
can
little
hear you.
bit. Hmm.
Okay. So what I was stating is that it. Oh, I am okay. Is this better? Is
Yes,
this
kind of like
better?
a
Yes.
little. That's better.
Oh no.
Uh-oh. Say
Okay,
something. Okay.
good.
So you were saying it doesn't
Okay, I'm
affect
here.
you, but
Okay, raise there isn't a direct. It
Uh-oh,
does
we having some.
affect the citizens of Gwinnett County, and it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you are on. What matters is that you're heard. It doesn't matter what your personal demographics are. It matters that your voice is heard. And I think that's the one part of the conversation that people don't want to have. You know, Representation, anytime one party majority, it is not in the greatest benefit of the people. We've got to create balance. The way the Republicans are going about doing what they are doing here in Gwinnett County is completely wrong. However, where there's only one party that is a majority, you freeze out the voices of others. We got to what it is are completely wrong. And maybe motives behind all of this is completely wrong. But at the end of the day, it makes us no better than them. When we can acknowledge that everybody needs to be heard, which is to no one is fairly represented. There never needs to be a majority. So that's my perspective.
Well, and I agree. Like we all have to think about the people that are involved right now, and I think, I've always said this too. Like I have to think about the people. When I think about um and this, there's a gentleman who hit us up there. He wanted to be on the show. He's like some kind of psychologist about why people vote the way they do on the psychological level, and so we're probably going to get him on the show, because my thing has always been, despite party lines, what is it that you need? You know what I mean? What is it that you need for your family? Like 99% of us are not in the 1%. We're like in the 99%. And it always baffles me about, when people go to vote, are you not voting for the needs of your family? Are you just voting based on belief? Derek talked about something really interesting. I don't know. Did we talk about that on air when you were saying that in Texas, a lot of Mexican voted Republican? And I'm like, why would they do that? And you kind of explain. Was that us talking off air or on air, Derek?
Well, that was it was off air, but it was an article that we posted. And let me correct you, is a lot of Hispanics
I'm sorry,
that
Hispanics.
yeah, because as we all know, Hispanic is more than just Mexico. But that particular article was talking about Hispanics in Texas because have been voting Republican, or the trend is they're voting more Republican. It's because the Democrats have been focusing on immigration issues and automatic and putting it in Spanish and automatically assuming that all Hispanics in Texas are immigrants. Just like how society put all black people in a basket. They're doing that heavily in
Exactly.
Texas, and come to find out that which I knew because I grew up in Texas, but a large number of Hispanics in Texas are actually native of Texas. Texas used to be part of Mexico, so obviously, if they was born in Mexico, Texas, and then Texas seceded and became Texas, and then became a state, they are native there. They're not quote unquote immigrants. Same thing with all the western states from California to Texas, Nevada, Arizona. All of them used to be part of Mexico. So is wrong for anyone to assume that just because you're Hispanic, you're automatically an immigrant.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
so that's what the issue is in Texas. Um, but I know that Georgia uh, has that same issue per se when it come down to Democrats connecting to minorities. But I guess it helps that the Republicans are not even attempting to connect to minorities. So my question is to you, Nikita. What do you see, or how do you see your campaign connecting um, with the people who are usually ignored in these campaigns? And because you're running a statewide campaign, so how will you reach out and connect to those groups, the Pakistanis or the Hispanics or the immigrants? Because I don't, maybe you can help me out with that one. I don't know the numbers here in Georgia, but I do know a large number of immigrants have at some point worked in agriculture. So how does that fit here in Georgia? That was a loaded question.
I know. And I think she has a delay, having a little tech issues.
So go ahead. Okay, I'm sorry. The lag is so weird because it's saying I have full signal here. Um, several things. Let me start with something state and extremely, which is the fact that we're not single issue voters. And I think
Right.
sometimes in the spirit of politics, people forget that voters are real people. We're all multidimensional. I'm African American. I'm a mother of 40s, and I like gardening, farming, and and trading seeds. But I'm also a tech geek, and and I'm very much into innovation, and I worked in the tech sector, and I'm very much in the finance and individuals, and I think that's where our parties and politics get it wrong. You know, when you're talking about farm workers and farm workers' rights, the image that is often drawn is that is a connection to an immigration issue. But what people are not realizing, especially here in the state of Georgia, is the most farm workers in rural parts are American citizens that have 9 to 5 jobs who are not earning livable wages. And so they go and moonlight at farms, picking tomatoes, picking blueberries, just to make the additional money so that they can provide for their families. It's still not enough. So the messaging is not about what we think people need. It's out and doing exactly what they're at. Not my narrative of what should be. It should be Nikita Hemingway and any other politician getting out here, talking with you what it is that you want this position and this job, and that should be the message. That is,
I agree.
we do that, especially as Democrats, we will see more voter. We will advance the cause and better for people. So,
Derek, you will say something?
Oh no, I was just saying I agree, and we need more people like you out here on these trails and getting involved and meeting these people. Um, when are you having any type of virtual or in person meet and greets or opportunities where voters can speak with you directly, learn more about your campaign, get involved, you know?
Uh-oh.
so we're actually, oh, can you hear me?
Yes.
Here for next year. And we
Uh-oh.
are trying to make that work for the voters across the state. Georgia has 159 counties. So there is a lot of traveling that has to be done for these races. What we'll tell you is that what's really important to me, because I have my family structure, doesn't get lost in the process of campaigning. And I don't believe in putting that. What I am saying is that we have opened the door for voters to contact me on any of the social media platforms to have one-on-one conversations with me. They can email us from our website, and then we're inviting them to the many town halls that we plan for next year, and also the party and can't take too long answering your questions, but there are definitely many ways in which voters can reach us.
Nikita, what's your social media and what's your website?
So our website is Nikita Hemingway.com. Email Hemingway.com. And our handle is Nikita Hemingway at Facebook and at Instagram, and Nikita for Georgia. And I'll tell you guys a little secret. I am blessed to be the only Nikita Hemingway in the world. So if you Google my
Wow.
name, you will find me.
Oh wow.
Wow.
I can't say that. You Google Derek Wilson, you get 30 pages.
So Nikita, thank you so much for taking some time out. I know you're a busy mom, a busy farm. I gotta go visit your farm. Where's your farm located?
Yeah.
Where's your farm located?
Our farm is in Lawrenceville, and we are going to start doing tours before the primaries, but definitely we'll invite you guys out.
I would love that. I'm in Lawrenceville, so please be sure to let me know when that happens because I would love to come out. So thank you again for joining us today. Hopefully we'll get you back when the victory has been won. So thank you.
Yes, yes. I'm looking forward to that exclusive once you
Yes,
win.
yes. Thanks, Nikita.
Bye.
So we're gonna have a
Thank you.
class, and I'm gonna put you to work. I'm work pissed off with me. All right, thanks.
All right, you're welcome.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Well,
So Deb, we've been busy. We've been talking about this whole, redistrict. Why can't I say that?
I mean,
Redistricting.
that's a challenge across the world. Redistricting is too many syllables in that.
I know. It's like I feel like I'm like redistricting. So, are we gonna have 9 commissioners here in Gwinnett County plus a chairwoman? You think we are?
Well, as we stated earlier, the GOP is in the majority. So, the GOP put a plan together that says 10 commissioners is safe to say that the GOP majority will win. I'm interested to see what steps that the county will do, or the Democratic Party will do. I mean, there can be some legal actions to hopefully either halt or slow down this process. But I recommend anyone that's interested, they may want to start getting their stuff together, because if it does get approved, there will be an election uh, in May 24th, which is the primary, and then November is the general election. So uh, what they say, hope for the best, prepare for the worst.
Yeah.
So if you're living in Gwinnett County, hoping that the best is them not to have this go through, because what it does is it limits the power of the chairperson, which I find highly suspicious, being that the first time in this county history that they ever have a black person as the county chair, then they decides to limit the power of the chair. You know, the power of the chair or the voting of the chair was never an issue in this 200-year history. And then all of a sudden, not only is it a Democrat, but it's a black Democrat and it's a black woman. Oh, we gotta minimize her role. Like, you know,
That
call it.
is sad.
Yeah.
That's very sad. I think what's crazy for me is that they see nothing wrong with that. For them, I guess it's just business as usual for them. Um, I think it's disgusting though. It makes me
Yeah.
sick in my stomach when I think about it, because I think they sit there and they look at that, they look at her role, and giving us 5 new commissioners is going to take her power away, right? That's like a slap on the face on both sides, and I think it's disgusting. And so my question is this: why is it that we can't do anything about the way they do things? Like, if they bypass like the protocol or how this should have played out, they bypassed that. They just did their own thing. And you and I talked about this off air, but maybe you can share with our viewers. There was a protocol that should have been followed to make this happen, and they bypassed it. And then there's nothing that we can seem to do about that. Why is that?
Well, so they supposedly bypassed it because this is a state of emergency, situation. So because the fact that we are having an election in May. So, in order for these maps, as far as for the county commissioners as well as the school board, in order for the maps to be accepted and go into place and then, move forward, it has to be done now because of the elections in May. If they make, so one goal is to make the school board nonpartisan, which election is in May. Nonpartisan elections are during the primary elections, which are in May. Uh, so that's why that's an emergency for the school board. And the same thing for the commission. May is the primary. So in order for this to be approved and be ready and give, now this is their explanation, and give the election officials time to get, qualified candidates and get the ballots in place. They have to do it now versus doing it in a regular session because, again, the election is in May. So that's for Democrat or Republican, anyone who wants to run for this seat. The interesting thing for me is, um, I've always was in active and organized sports or anything, and one of the things you're taught in youth sports is when you cheat, karma can always come back and bite you. And so I'm sitting back just want to watch it all through. Cause let's say that the GOP gets what they want and they get it pushed through, and yay, now we got 10 board members, and now we got a nonpartisan election, and yet the Democrats win them all.
Well, yeah, yeah.
So I'm just interested to sit back because then what's gonna be the issue then? Because now you got 10 Democratic elected officials on the board. You have these nonpartisan school board members that are uh, part of the Democratic Party. What is the explanation then? Then now it's going to be another fire. I heard someone say they create the fires. You know, they created this state of emergency type issue, and then now they have to put it out after they didn't created the issue. So um, it's going to be interesting. But like I said, I'm just sitting back and waiting because uh, Gwinnett Gwinnett County in Georgia is not blue because of the lines. Gwinnett County
Right.
in Georgia is blue because of the residents of this county. Now, are there some pockets of the county that may not be as blue as other? Yes. Uh, but it will be interesting to see how many of those pockets out of this 9 district map that they created are actually going to be red. I see out of the 9, I see at least 5 or 6 of them still remaining blue.
Mm.
So, regardless of the map, I still think that Gwinnett County statistically from 2016, 18, and 20 has been trending blue. 20, it was blue for Hillary, and then in the midterms it was blue. That was Stacey Abrams. And then last year, in 2020, it was blue, and the whole state became blue. So,
Mhm.
I we shall see. It should be interesting though. We shall see. And I'm just gonna sit back and watch because I want to be one of the ones laughing on election day, and as they try to overtake the county commissioner because all of a sudden there's too many African Americans and too many Democrats on the board that's been ran by Republicans for the last 20 some since the 80s, so 30 some years.
30, yeah, 30 something years.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Now we're in the state of emergency because we got Negroes and Democrats in office.
Yeah, which is crazy. I mean, you know what gets me though? They just don't have a conscience though. They don't care. Like they don't care what we say. They're gonna do what they want to do. And let me say this. I have a conscience, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna speak for myself. I have a conscience. And I think there is nothing I can do in good conscience, knowing that it's gonna destroy somebody's life or destroy their livelihood or destroy their community. In good conscience, I can do those things. They don't care. It's
No,
all
they
about
don't.
power
They
grab for them.
don't.
It's all about the power. Like they want to have all this power. Like, and I don't why.
And plus, they love the uninformed voter. Because I think we spoke on this. I don't know if it was online or offline, but a lot of the poor white people that supported Trump didn't realize that they were voting for a person that was detrimental to their livelihood. You know, when the Republican Party saying they want to scratch um, um, food stamps and other services, not realizing that 85% of the population that are on food stamp are Caucasian. And the argument, oh well, that's because Caucasians are number one in number one largest population in the country. Regardless if you're the largest population in the country or not, you're the largest users of these benefits that are being cut. And when they got cut, or when they start cutting of the Affordable Health Care Act, as they call it, the Obamacare, they still, some of them came to the light. It was like, well, whoa, wait a minute, these are affecting me. But a lot of the uninformed voters continue to vote against their better, their, I ain't gonna say their better judgment, but against their livelihood. If I needed this to survive, but yet I support a candidate or a person or a party that's continuing to cut these things, you know, it's it's interesting to say that you complain, but then you vote against your need. I think your needs, and
You know,
and
my
that's the
husband,
difference.
my husband used to work with this guy, and it was amazing. He used to work with this guy a while ago, probably about, well, right around the time I met him, which was about 20 some years ago, about 20 years. Yeah, 20 years. He used to work with this guy, white guy, right? And he was talking, they had a conversation, and the guy, Derek, and it's so funny because he was an uninformed voter. He was
Yeah.
uninformed about life, right? One, he had never really worked with black people. Now, granted, he and my husband became really good friends. We went to his daughter's wedding, the whole nine, but he had never really worked with black folk.
Mm.
And it was crazy because the more he worked with my husband had to educate him on, like, man, that's like a lot of his beliefs was like totally blown away once he started working on all these black people. And I just think that's so sad. Like, you have these beliefs, and it's because you haven't been exposed to somebody. So you just believe, even though you see in the media, this is how some things are, and this is how some things are, you just tend to stay on this side and not even try to learn the other side. So my husband said to him one time, just what you just said. He was talking about how it's more black people on welfare. And my husband like, that's not true. He's like, how
Mm.
can you say that's not true? He said, because it's more white people than black folks. And
Yeah.
he was stunned. He was like, wait a minute. But that's the truth. And so, but because you're so uninformed and you're so stuck in the way you think about things, you're missing out on so many things that could hurt you and your family because of the way you think, your ideology about, well, I'm a Republican, I'm gonna vote this way, because I just think that's so crazy.
And
Like,
what
and when
people
do you
don't
wake up?
and what people don't realize, the way that the U.S. Has counted people for so long is really interesting, because uh, truth be told, that 9 times out of 10, at this point, white European Caucasians are are probably the minority, to be totally honest. Uh, but the reason why the census data continues to show white Caucasians as the majority is because if you're not black, if you're not Asian, you're Caucasian. And people are like, well, that's not true. Yeah, it is true, because first, if you look at it, it asks for your ethnicity, and I can't say it right. Uh,
Ethnicity.
yeah, and it say Hispanic or non-Hispanic. Okay,
Yeah.
well, let's say you Hispanic. Okay, wow. Okay, so you push yes, Hispanic, and then it asks you for your race.
Mm.
And on the race, I have never seen a race that says, well, I'm Mexican or I'm Honduran. I, the race is white, Caucasian, African American, Native Indian, Pacific Islander, Asian. And so if you're Hispanic, you're going to, I mean, I'm assuming, but a lot of people, which is what was big in Texas, a lot of Hispanics will check Hispanic, and then for race, they will put white, I mean, Caucasian.
Wow.
And so now when we're running the numbers, the Caucasian number is 92%, while so that's that's why the numbers keep looking the way it look as far as Caucasians, because if you're not black, if you're not Native American, if you're not uh, the Asians, Pacific Islander, if you don't fall under those racial categories, you are considered Caucasian, which is white.
Wow.
That's why they ask you, are you Hispanic or non-Hispanic? And then it asks you for your race. So
Mm.
I think that's purposeful, because that keeps the numbers up. I know for a fact that I think I mentioned this as well in a previous, that on birth certificates. I don't know what birth certificates are currently, but if any Hispanic that was born in the U.S. look at their birth certificate, I would love to leave a comment. I would love to hear what your birth certificate states. But I know for a fact that I've seen a Hispanic birth certificate that has them classified as Caucasian, and then it say of Hispanic heritage, yes or no. You put yes, and then it say what country. But the race is classified as Caucasian.
Wow.
And so when they say, "Oh, we got 85% Caucasians in the country," that's not technically true. You probably have 85% people that you have classified as Caucasian, but are they really Caucasian?
Wow.
You know,
Wow.
and don't
And
be
I think,
mixed. That's a
oh
whole
yeah,
nother.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, well, I feel like there's still a lot of work to do, and I don't know if we're ever going to get past all the work that we have to do in this country, heck, in this whole world,
yeah,
because the more we try to correct the issues, they find a way to go around. I feel like The Godfather. Remember so Derek likes to quote movies, y'all, but I'm about to quote one of my favorites. So remember The Godfather when he was trying to get out, he said, "Every time I try to get out, they pull me back in." Remember,
yeah. Pull me
every
back
time
in.
we figure out one way, they come up with a different way to go around it.
Yeah.
So I
That's
don't
why
know.
historically African American numbers have set at 13%. Every census, we're always 13%. Every census. Like
Wow.
that really don't make sense. I mean, every census and since the history of censuses, the African American population has always hovered around 13%. That
Mm,
makes no sense to me.
mm.
13%. Every other population is growing except the African American population.
Now, I wonder, has anybody even thought the question is? I mean, you have just said it, but has anyone who are in the census department say, you know what, this doesn't make sense. We need to go back and look at this. For the last 20 years, it's been 13%. We know they had kids, so what's the problem?
I I haven't heard anyone call it out. I haven't heard anyone call out the fact that Hispanics are being classified as Caucasians. So I mean, again, but if I would have known, I would not have known that if I was in a situation where I'm looking at a Hispanic birth certificate and I'm like, oh wow.
Wow.
So um yeah, you know, but it go back to what you mentioned in Texas. That's what the article was saying. A lot of Texans, that Hispanics that been in Texas for generations on generations, they consider themselves white. According to the article. I'm not saying that's the case. I don't want anyone to say that I'm saying that. According to the article on CNN, which is posted on our Facebook page, it stated that that's why a lot of Hispanics in Texas have been siding and voting with the GOP, is because they consider themselves white, and they didn't like that the immigration um, push that the Democrats was pushing towards them, and one of the cities that they did a case study on, or the counties, was McAllen, Texas. This is a city that's on the border, like on the border of Mexico, and a lot of, I mean, that city went heavily, or that county went heavily for Trump. I mean, that's a probably a 98% Hispanic town, and they voted heavily for Trump.
Wow.
So that's a problem that the Democrats will need to face. But as I stated before we went on air, that this whole redistricting thing is like is a nationwide pandemic, to say so to speak, when it come down to the Republicans are just, I mean, they see the writing on the wall that, I don't want to be cliche and say the blue wave, but they see that Democrats are picking up steam. Trump was very detrimental to their party, although some of them don't want to admit it. They feel like Trump is the savior of the party, but uh, if you look at the movements that they're making, uh, if you feel like your party is strong and you feel like Trump as your leader, you wouldn't be doing the things that they're doing across the country in these redistricting. You have Supreme Court judges in states like Wisconsin that are throwing out maps, GOP maps, saying that they are unconstitutional. You have the Democrats suing GOP leaders in South Dakota. I mean, you just go down the list in Utah, uh, in Virginia. It's just, if you feel like your party is strong, you wouldn't be doing you wouldn't be gerrymandering these districts in order to benefit your party more if you already feel like you're in a safe space.
But Derek, here's the thing. So Trump was detrimental to the party, but he's coming back. He said. Now, what I read yesterday was that Pence is going to run against him, and in the meantime, Mike Flynn is saying we should all have one religion. Like, I'm like, what? Oh my God! It's like So I don't know. Last week, they was in Dallas waiting for JFK to show up. Help me understand. Like, I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to understand like the politics and listen. The blue wave is here, but that red wave over there, that red wave got some issues, some serious issues, and we have to continue to fight because by the time the aliens land and make us all one person, we're gonna be one big giant person walking around with one religion, with one president. We're raising the dead. I mean, it sounds crazy, y'all. I didn't say these things. These are things that I have been reading. Pence may run against Trump. Trump is going to run again in 24. Mike Flynn is going to be the vice president once JFK come back, and then he's going to have one religion that we all live under. I didn't say this. It's out there.
It's like truth and honor and facts no longer exist.
No.
And that's sad. I grew up, about to tell my age. I grew up in the 90s, and as much, and so I grew up in the 90s. So I remember the whole Clinton administration, and I remember Newt Gingrich and Ken Starr and all that, how that played out. And then I remember the Bush and Gore situation. But then, at that point in time in my lifetime, I felt like that, Bush was like the worst we can get when it came down to presidents. And I'm from Texas. Bush was was the governor of Texas, and we was like, y'all really want him to be our president? Like, he's doing a horrible job here in Texas as far as, to the residents of Texas. Texas businesses were booming, but we as the regular people were struggling. And so I say all that to say is, I would beg for Bush to, for Bush, like when Trump was in office, it was like, give me Bush back, and it's bad when you have Republican former presidents. H.W. Bush and W. Bush did not support and does not support, well, H.W. has passed away, but W. Bush does not support Trump at all. You have Republican former presidents that come out publicly to say, nah, not supporting him. Colin Powell, General Colin Powell, that passed recently, he didn't support Trump, and everybody know that General Powell was a Republican. Yeah. So it's like, it's at some point, I have a real good friend that's a Republican, and I mess around with him, joke. He's older than I, but I mess around and joke with him, and but he makes it crystal clear he does not support Donald Trump, and I be like, well, you can't be a Republican, and he be like, oh yes, there is a difference, but Trump said it himself that if he ever ran for president, he would run as a Republican. Yeah. And everybody knows that up until he decided to run for president, Trump was a Democrat. Trump supported Democrats. He was at all their weddings, and all of them was at his 5 weddings. That's an exaggeration. I think he'd been married 4 times. And so it's like, it's just amazing how a person who was quote unquote Democrat publicly, and then switch over to Republican Party, talk all this crazy hoopla, and becomes the president. Now he's the leader of the party, and it's like, I tell everybody, this feels like that Eddie Murphy movie when the 2 billionaires had a bet for $1. I can't think of the movie it is right now, but it's when Eddie, what the bet was, they take a homeless person off the street, and flip his life with the white. Oh, I can't think of it
Was
right
the
now.
gentleman something?
No. I'll let you talk while I look it up. But it was an Eddie Murphy movie where
I know what you're talking about
yeah,
too,
the
because
two bit.
I can't remember. I thought it was something gentleman, distinguished gentleman,
I don't
the
know.
distinguished gentleman.
That's what
Wasn't
it
that
is.
it? I
I'm
think it
still
was.
I'm still looking.
Look at
He
that. I
got
think it was the
he got so many
distinguished
movies
gentleman.
to go through.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
remember. I think that's the one. But you know what's crazy?
No, Trading Places.
Trading places. Okay.
That's it.
Okay. Trading places.
That's what it feel
Um,
like. It feel like Trump was a bet, and Trump won. Like Trump didn't even think he was gonna win this race. You
he
know.
didn't think so, Derek, but he won. Like a lot of us didn't think so. I woke up the next morning because I stayed up most of the night while they were counting the votes, and I was like, I gotta go to bed because I can't. And when I woke up the next morning, they were like, oh, he won. I'm like, oh, and it's only because up until that point, I used to watch The Apprentice. Like that was one of my favorite shows. I fell out of love with it when Randall Pickett won, and he asked the audience, should he make this girl like a president too? And we like, well, you haven't up until this point, everybody has they won by themselves. So why should he win with somebody else? So right, that's when
Yeah.
I fell out with him right there. You know,
Yeah.
everybody that know me know I'm a diehard entrepreneur. So I fell out of love, right? I'm like, okay, that sucks. Like, why would he have to share his spotlight with somebody and none of the other winners share? So I felt like there was some racism going on right there. And Randall
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard him say anything against Trump. He did his time according to whatever the contract was, and I've never heard, and I'm sure he probably had to sign a gag order saying you can't say nothing.
Well,
Because I've never heard him
Omarosa
say
wrote a
anything.
whole book.
She did, but she didn't win either. She wrote a book, so I don't know what her gag
Yeah.
order was. But Randall, who was from Jersey, I've never heard him say a word, and I know he has some inside dirt. He probably gonna tell when Trump died, but it's probably gonna come out then, like Mary. Anyway,
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of the Republicans who are against him, they do have integrity. You know, I believe in what I believe, but this stuff is just ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? Now, having integrity and being fair
Yeah.
are two different things.
But who would have thought Mitt Romney? Mitt Romney.
Mitt
Mitt
was like,
Mitt Romney was like Democrats couldn't stand Mitt Romney. We felt like he was so disrespectful to Obama during that campaign. We were just like, oh, Mick need to go somewhere. Who would have thought that in 8 years later or 4 years, 5 years later that Mitt Romney would have been the 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 person that the Democrats were like, y'all need to, I mean, listen to this
follow
man.
Mitt.
Yeah,
Right.
listen to this
Right.
man.
Right.
Mitt Romney, John McCain, like these are people who, well, John McCain has always been on the up and up. We can give him that. But these are people who we've always, as a Democrat, was like, oh no, we don't. And these are the ones that sounded the alarm. If it
Right.
wasn't for John McCain, Obamacare, or as they call it, the affordable health care would have been completely destroyed. John McCain was that one vote that voted against it that shut it down. He came from the hospital to make that vote. Mitt Romney, I can't think of her name, but Dick Cheney's daughter, uh, Liz Cheney.
Liz Cheney.
Like these are names that have been in the politic, in the political arena for decades as staunch Republicans, and they're like, not like, nah, he does not represent me, and we need more of those. And I really feel like if the Congress were to be hardcore as they would have done if it was on the other way around, if it was a bunch of Democrats that stormed the Capitol and all this and that, a Republican Congress would have expelled those supporters, those elected supporters. It would have been jail time and fines. I mean, they're coming, but it's like some of these fines and jail times are so minute. Like you get more time for a traffic violation for some of the things they get.
I want to even bring that back locally, Raffensperger. I mean,
Yeah,
he was like, listen, the presidency was fair. He took a beating for that from his party.
yeah,
He took
yeah.
a
He's
beating
still
from his
taking a
party.
beating.
He's still taking a beating.
Him and Kim. That's the only time I would mention something good about Kim. But I mean, they did stand up for the integrity of the election because we
Yeah.
all know that this could have been a Florida 2020 2000. Where
Yeah.
where it's interesting that the brother of the president of the candidate is having to be the governor of that state, and that's the state that caused the anywho. Uh,
Right.
but yeah, it
Right.
could have easily been a Florida
Yeah.
2000. You know.
So we got to give credit where credit is due. They did, like, the ones that have stood up and said this is right. Now, we got to give them credit for that, because
Yeah.
they could have voted with everybody. They could have walked that line with everybody else and just looked crazy. Me personally, Derek, I'm not walking with you looking like a fool. I don't care who you are. And so that's just me. Because I feel like I have my own, like, I have to live when you're gone and it's over. I need to be able to get up in the morning, look in the mirror, and say, I still like you, Audrey. I
Yeah.
guess that just don't matter for a lot of people. Like, I
Yeah.
I, I don't I don't I don't get it, and I ain't trying to get it. Like, we just got to
Well,
figure out.
it must didn't matter too much for Kellyanne, because I don't see how she can look in the mirror.
Ugh,
And and then I felt like all the leaks was coming from her, and they trying to figure out where her husband was getting all it, like pillow talk. She was
that's
telling her
right.
husband,
And
she
she's
was
like,
giving her
honey,
husband all the information.
honey, you can't tell anybody this now.
Yeah,
I'm just telling. Don't say
yeah,
anything to anybody. Like, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say. Kelly, go and tell me. I ain't gonna say nothing. That's what he was
yeah.
telling, right?
I
You
think I
can't.
think that was her way of trying to deal with her conscience by allowing her husband to be the, But how stupid does that look? You as a wife at a job and your husband publicly bashing your boss while you going to work every day.
Because I think for some of them it was a chance to be in the spotlight. It was really like a chance to write their own check about things, right?
Yeah,
Especially if he had did some really great things and he was well liked, but he wasn't.
right.
So he wasn't well liked by a lot of people. He was liked by his party, by his people, his followers, his group, but there were a lot of other people who didn't. So when you think about some of the people, because even Omarosa, I was like, really? Like, why, lady? Why?
Yeah,
Why?
yeah,
Why?
yeah.
It was all kind of
I
speculations,
mean,
but
Ben Carson, like,
gosh,
just
oh my God.
you
Oh,
know,
like, even now, right? Herschel Walker.
yeah, yeah,
I shake my head. All I can do is shake my
yeah.
head.
Shake
You
your
know,
head.
with the election next year is gonna be one series to watch, and we gotta see what's gonna happen when it's time to go to 2024. On a local level, we got a lot of stuff we gotta try to figure out how we're gonna make things happen with what's going on with Gwinnett right now, with our commissioners or the Board of Education.
Yeah,
Just if you guys have seen, and I got the video. I don't know if I want to release it though, because she was really like just very emotional. And what she said to me was, they are trying to make us crazy. And I was
yeah,
like, what? And so it's just a lot going on. What's crazy, Derek? Behind the scenes, like when you see the representatives out in public and stuff, they're out there fighting for you. They are fighting. And here's what I found out just yesterday. Trust me when I tell you, it ain't no big money involved when they're out there
no,
fighting and taking the beating.
mm,
Let me say that. Like, literally, you can spend all the money in gas every month that they get. It's
yeah,
crazy. And I said to Derek, is that all they making? He was like, yes.
yeah.
I was
That's
like,
all
oh
they
my
make.
God. Life threats to their lives, and things like Karen Watkins from the Board of Education, that she was in tears yesterday,
Yeah,
and she was saying how Solicitor General Brian Whiteside made sure that he got protection for them, and that's scary, because you take a stance to help our community better, and then people want to take your life, they want to threaten your life. But
right.
she gave Brian his flowers now, because she said without his input, who knows what would have happened. So she and Donna both gave, and a lot of our DA gave Brian his flowers, and Travis Gatson gave him his flowers. But that goes to show you a man of integrity, and a man who said, you know what, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and that's gonna be it. So
Yeah,
there are a lot of community leaders who get up there and they sacrifice a lot to help us.
mm,
And there are people who don't like what they're doing. Some of them don't even know why they don't like it. They just don't like it
yeah.
because it's got a big D in front of it, or it's just nuts. But
Mm.
um,
And it's amazing when you get into those private moments, and those, I feel like those are the times where these elected officials are more real, more down to earth. Their guard is down. And yesterday, even I was taken aback, and I'm around elected officials all the time. I was surprised that one in particular, I mean, wait, two of them, but this one in particular started like she was crying over the amount of, not even the pressure, just how frustrating it is to be in her position, and then how the GOP are just trying blatantly racism, blatant sexism, blatant any other isms that you can think of, and how frustrated that she was, that she started crying, like, and
Not once, but twice, y'all.
yeah. And so it's like, and now mind you, this is not a public thing where she was like, oh, there goes some cameras. Here, let me, let me start crying. This was a intimate conversation amongst friends, and she was like, y'all, this is serious.
Yeah.
Not to mention that, then, the death threats, and like no one, I mean, I've been in that position where I volunteered to run for office. You don't say, hey, I want to run for this office so someone can kill me. Or
Right.
so I can get some death threats. You're not
Right.
nobody unless you get some death threats. Like,
Right.
no one volunteers for that. And then to get those, I mean, it's
It's
crazy.
unnerving to think about,
Yeah,
tell you the truth. It's
it's
unnerving to
crazy.
think about, especially when you got a family. And I could tell you that when those people ran for office, their whole family run. Derek knows,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the whole, like, not only does the candidate run, the family runs. The entire
yeah.
family, pretty much the circle. If you're in the circle at that time, you're running, you're running right along with the candidate. So it's
Right.
not just a position that the candidate holds himself. His entire family holds that commitment to the county, to the position. And that being said, a lot of times you have to fear for your family, not just yourself, because people are crazy right now,
Right. You
and they're
gotta fear
getting,
for your kids, your
yeah,
grandkids,
yeah,
and mind you, we don't get the protection as the president or governor. I mean, crazy enough, uh, I saw the mayor of Atlanta. I mean, she has security, like top notch
yeah.
security,
I'm
because
not. She has
because
to.
of the, because of the threats. And then you and I found out that district attorneys, they have top notch security. They ride around like, with
Like the
top notch security
president.
because of the threats. Like, no one, at the end of the day, this is a job, you know and no one should lose their life for one, stepping up to make a difference in the community, and then two, for going to work. you know and it's just sad that, you know here in 2021, politics, the US as a whole, political system is almost going backwards. Almost like we're going back to the eras of Jim Crow, where you was a, NIGG, let you finish the rest. But we're going back to those days, because now it's blatant. It was blatant in
Yeah,
those days, and it kind of died down a little bit, but now it's blatant again.
it
And
is.
it's just sad. And then we always hear, oh, get over it. It was so long ago. And I have a problem with that, because you know, every other group, every other racial ethnicity group have, they get their days of remembrance. Even now, you have the immigrants who separate from their kids. The government is basically willing to get them payment for that separation, where uh, if you go down the list, all these other groups have received payments: the Native Americans, the Irish, the Hispanics now. Uh, African Americans have yet to receive any form of compensation. We're supposed to get 40 acres in a mule. If you
I,
got
I
your
want my.
40,
I still want my 40 acres.
yeah, but if you got your 40 acres in a mule, it was
They
taken
took it.
from you. Yeah, they
That's
took it
right.
from you.
That's
So,
right.
I mean, we have to do better. And I wish that we get to the point where society was to stop telling black people to just get over it. It was so long ago. Why are we, like Mitch McConnell said about, paying a debt that was hundreds of years ago. Well,
It's
how
the
about we
funds that
pay
we
the
need.
debts that was 60 years ago at Jim Crow? Jim Crow ended in the 60s or 70s, one of them. Jim Crow ended. Back then, I have family members that are old enough to remember when school desegregated. You know, Anybody that's 70 and up, which is a lot of a population, they remember Jim Crow.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't that long ago when you still got people living that actually went through it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I have family members that call JFK Jack Kennedy. They had
Mm-hmm.
his picture in the house.
Yes,
You
that's
know,
right.
I have
That's
family
right.
members that was around that, we call him Dr. King. They talking about, oh yeah, I remember when Martin was around. Who's Martin? Martin Luther King, Derek. Oh, I didn't know you knew the man like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, we can get on that soapbox, but I just wish that the government as a whole, you know, at one point it felt like we was progressing. Now it seems like we're going back. The Republicans are trying to do whatever they can to hold on to power, and it's ridiculous. And we have to do better. We have to do better.
And the way for us to do that, guys, is to make sure you get out there and vote. Listen, your
Yes.
vote matters. It really does matter. Believe it or not, I know you think it's a waste of time most of the time, but when you look around you at some of the things that you don't like, just know that your vote could have changed that. So make sure
Yes.
that you get out there and vote in every election. And I know we have some, and sometimes it's like, okay, I didn't know I was supposed to vote. Check your local listing. They'll tell you what seats are coming available. Go out and vote before that day. Make sure that you check and see where you're registered at, because that has been a huge problem. Last year, I could tell you this. Last year, I remember going to vote, and I normally vote on the last day, Derek, at the last hour. That's normally how I do. My husband and I would go like 6 o'clock in the evening. We'll go vote. This time we didn't do that. We was like, nope, we're gonna go early because we don't know what kind of flam they're gonna have going on. Sure enough, there was a young lady in line. She was pregnant. So we
Mm.
vote in Lawrenceville on Grayson Highway. She was pregnant. They sent her from Winder, which is about 25 minutes away from, over to Lawrenceville, just for her to get to Lawrenceville. And they said, you're not registered here. And she's like, I'm not doing this. And I said, no. I had to stop her. I said, listen, that's exactly what they want. They want you not to vote.
Right.
Don't get frustrated. She was pregnant. I'm sure she was tired. I said, don't do that. That's what they want you to do. They want to frustrate you so your vote is not counted. You go and
Lines along.
lines along. I said, you go and you find out where you're supposed to vote at, and you cast your vote no matter what. And she's like, okay, yes, ma'am. People say, ma'am.
You go to jail for handing out water.
Yep.
You go to jail for handing out food. It's crazy.
So listen, this year when it's time to get in them long lines, listen, get y'all a sub sandwich, right? Get you
Hey, go ahead and pack your cooler so you can have something to sit on too.
Get the kind that you sit on,
Yeah.
right? Get that kind with the little, you roll it,
with the wheels. Yeah.
And just just be prepared.
Download some movies on your phone.
Make sure your phone fully charged, because they are trying everything to stop us from voting, and that is our right. Our right
is always in the minority, low income areas.
Always in low.
I've never seen Buckhead with a line.
No, and you probably never will. You probably never will. So, listen, Derek J. Wilson, it is time for you to go say hello to your family. It is 1:02 and you are late. And I apologize. No, it's 2:02. 2:03. Yeah. So Derek has a family meeting every Sunday, and I take him away, and I apologize, family, but I really appreciate him here co-hosting with me, because we have to get the word out. We have to make sure that you are an informed person, so you can make the right decisions when it comes to you, your community, and your family. Because unless you vote, we can't change things. So I appreciate you for being here with us.
I want to do a shout out to Nikita Hemingway. We was having technical difficulties earlier, but her website is nikitahemingway.com. Please visit her website. If you're interested in donating or volunteering, please do so, because that is definitely needed. A campaign. She's running a statewide race for agriculture commissioner. She will be the first Black and the first woman to ever hold this seat in the state of Georgia. So let's help her make some history.
That's right. And listen, if you are a farmer, she says she farms. She's a farm girl, and she's a tech head all together. So that's a double whammy. You might want to reach out to her and say, listen, what do I need to do to farm? We need to grow our own foods. We don't know what we're eating. We don't know what they're feeding the cows. We don't know what they're putting on the grass. We need to understand that whole thing so we can eat better and we can have better health. Yep. All right. So all we got for you today. We'll be back again next Sunday, God willing, to bring you more popcorn and politics. One day we're going to have some popcorn. One day.
We're going to probably start at the beginning of the year with popcorn and politics, with the real popcorn that could be purchased.
Yes.
And love for you guys to try it out. The popcorn is good, y'all.
It's delicious, y'all. It's sad because I'm not a popcorn lover, and I had a big bag. The bag was like this. The bag was literally like that big.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to share my popcorn with anybody, but I'll drop it next time. So y'all, so at the beginning of the year, we're gonna be eating popcorn on Sundays, and we'll tell y'all again how we came up with the name Popcorn and Politics. But anyway, thank you guys for listening. We'll be back again next Sunday to bring you more Popcorn and Politics. My co-host Derek J. Wilson, you go and say hello to your family for me. Listen, stay safe out there. Remember, hug your family, love them, and until next time, my good people. Until next time, make it a great day. Bye now.
You've been listening to Popcorn in Politics. What's the Real Deal? Hosted by Audrey Bell Kearney and Derek J. Wilson. Be sure to subscribe to the show and share it with your family and friends. To support the show, visit us on the web at www.popcorninpolitics.com. Connect with us on Facebook at Progressive Popcorn and on Instagram at Popcorn Politics Podcast.